It's the last show of August, everybody. We better make it a good one. Let's start with part 7 of our 8-part series previewing the NFL division by division. Today, it is the NFC North. And the final division before we get to, you know what. Do the Lions have it in the bag? Can the Packers or the Bears be a surprise challenger? And the Vikings? Oh, the poor Vikings. Of course, we'll talk a little bit about LSU and their season opener against USC. And remember yesterday when we said Tulane might have a 3-headed monster quarterback? Well, yeah, they got that settled real quick. They stopped Southeastern on Thursday night. We'll bring that up at the end of the show. Larry Holder is here for his Friday visit. We have another birthday to celebrate. Light up the candles because Dattitude is next.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
Where you at, New Orleans? And hello to my friends elsewhere, everywhere, out there. We're playing Hold That Tiger over and over again an old Sunday night. Did you know I was in the LSU band? Bet you didn't know that. Maybe I should break out my trumpet. Never mind. How about we just get to Dattitude? Episode number 272, presented by Evangeline Securities for a Friday, August the 30th. First day of a new year for me. I guess second day. August 30th, 2024. I am your host, Jim Derry. Whether you're watching on one of our NOLA.com social media channels, however you're watching or listening, you might be listening on demand to the podcast later on after I record this. We're recording it live. Is that such a thing, recording it live? How else would you record something? I always say, we're recording it live. Well, no duh. We recorded it 8 years ago. Still recorded it live. Anyway, I thank you for being a part of the Dattitude family. A little quick programming note before we get to what's going on today. We are going to take Labor Day off. Yes, our last kind of extended weekend before all hell breaks loose. So we will not have a show on Monday, but beginning on Wednesday, we go to our regular football schedule, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So after Labor Day, we will be having a show through until at least January, except for a couple weeks here and there where the Saints play on a Thursday or something. We might alter the schedule, or the Saints play on a Monday. We may alter the schedule a little bit, or Christmas week. Other than that, every weekday except Tuesday here live at 11 a.m., all these channels, you know how to find us. You can be a part of the show as some have already. We'll get to it in a minute. You can be a part of the show. Whether you're new or regular, doesn't matter. You can say hello. You can ask a question. You can tell me you're the greatest thing since sliced bread, or you're the biggest moron since Dennis Allen. Whatever you want to say, you can say it by typing it in, whether you watch on YouTube or Facebook. And if we ask that if you haven't already done so, subscribe to our ever-growing YouTube page. TikTok's blowing up. I don't know what's going on. They like the short takes. Okay, well, good. We're glad you like them. You can watch them, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, whatever. You can touch me on X at Jim Derry Jr. via email, jderry@theadvocate.com. Okay, birthday was great. This morning I went and got my regular bagel. I went there yesterday. My wife had gone there before me to tell him it was my birthday. And Gabe's is tomorrow, by the way. He's going to be coming on the show later on. We don't have any candles for him or anything, so maybe we'll sing. Who knows? But there was a lady in the shop while I was in there. Later on, I go pick up my daughter from gymnastics. This lady apparently was in the shop, comes up to me. I'm on the phone with a friend of mine, and she's, I just want to say, I saw you this morning. Happy birthday. I'm like, I'm not known for Dattitude. I'm known for eating bagels. That's where we're at today. But hello to my friends Dilly and Son Bagel Company in Mandeville. They've been taking care of me. So Dilly and Is it Dilly and Son or Dilly? I should have looked that up before if I was going to mention their name. Just search for Dilly in Mandeville. Bagels. You'll find them. They're great. Worth going. A-Town, hello. Thank you, sir. We missed you yesterday. Were you here yesterday? I don't know if you were here yesterday or not. Today is going to be some fun. Not a whole lot of Saints news. I will say this, though. What's his name again? I forgot. He was a Saint for less than 24 hours. Kene Wangwu. He didn't make it very long. Remember how we were talking, kind of joking about people were saying the fanboy media. Great pickup for the Saints. He's going to be running kickoffs back for a touchdown. He's going to be wonderful. What an addition. He wasn't even there for 24 hours. Failed his physical. He's gone. So no Kene Wangwu. They still have John Ridgeway, though. Thank God for that. We're not going to be talking a whole lot about the Saints today. We are going to be doing the NFC North, and we're going to, after Larry's gone, he's got to leave by 11:40, so he'll be in the green room shortly. He'll come on the show. He's at Tracy's. He's doing Gus Cattengill's final sports hangover show. My friend Gus Cattengill is moving on to bigger and better things. Sad to hear that. 14 years on the air. If we make it, we're at year 3, season 4, but it'll be 3 years next month that we've been on the air. If we make it to 14 years, I'll do cartwheels because that means that I'm ready to retire and we made this show last for 11 more years. That would be amazing. So hats off to my friend Gus Cattengill. We'll talk about that in a minute. Before we get to Larry, let me continue the story real quick about our friends at Evangeline Securities. You're still thinking about it, huh? You haven't made that call to Evangeline yet, have you? We get it. It's a tough decision wondering whether it's the right time to sell your family-run or privately held business. One thing about getting in touch with our friends at Nick Braden and Ron Hemelt at Evangeline, they will begin simply by helping you figure out what your business is worth. That's the main thing. Then, and only then, if you decide to proceed, you proceed at your own pace. They will schedule a complimentary valuation, and then y'all can go from there. You already know Nick and Ron are native New Orleanians. They're one of us. They came home from New York City, to serve the people they love. They have offices on Poydras Street and in Lafayette. More on this later in the show after we say bye-bye to Larry. But in the meantime, you can check them out at www.evangelinesecurities.com. Okay, let's go. Enough of this. Got to bring them in. Got bright lights behind them. The U.S. is being played in the background. It's just a wonderful day for Larry Holder. I mean, he's like tennising it up, and he's having fun with his friend Gus all at the same time.
I'm out of my living room, actually. So
Notice that.
That's a plus. But yeah, we're doing the last hurrah of the sports hangover today. Of course, it's funny. It's the show I was doing with Gus before I became the beat writer for the Times-Picayune NOLA.com covering the Saints, and I had to leave the show to take the job because I couldn't do both. Tough to do both when you can't be at two places at once. So it's but it's look, today's the last day. We're over at Tracy's. You know, kind of where it all started.
Is that where you got your head shaved?
Yes.
I thought so.
That is where that is at the. Let's see, that is at the older location. Now he's at a newer, brighter, better location. But yes,
shout out to Tracy's.
Yes, that is where I got my head shaved for doubting the Saints. That was part of the old Duncan Holder days. That was 2017.
Hey,
Saints started 0-2. Jeff said they could still win 10 games. I said no chance. I'll shave my head if they win double-digit games, and they went on to win 8 in a row right after that.
If they win 10 games this year, should we both shave our heads?
I'm not doing that bet, but I don't look bad with a shaved head. I think
you didn't look that bad.
That was the biggest disappointment, that I did not look bad with a shaved head. And
you didn't look bad at all.
Yeah,
I got to get pictures though. I saw some on Facebook. Maybe I'll put them on the show next week. You're coming on twice next week, by the way. We thank Larry.
I'm glad you're reminding me.
Yeah, Wednesday and Friday. Wednesday's the NFC South preview, and then Friday we make our predictions for how the season's going to go. We're going to make postseason and Super Bowl predictions in early September, and then we're going to preview the Saints and Panthers next week, next Friday. So maybe I go find that picture of you 14 years ago on the Sports Hangover, you and You and Gus doing the show together. That's some good stuff, man.
Man, I was 30 when we started that show. So the Bama Bangs were so plentiful. It was some of the stuff we did on that show, I don't even know if we could get away with anymore. I really don't.
You could probably get away with it on this show. You can do whatever the hell you want.
Actually, I bet you we could. We could get away with it on this show.
Maybe we'll come up with shenanigans for you. One quick thing before we get to our predictions. I found it interesting. I like to call some of our colleagues the Fanboy Podcast Network. The Saints claim Kene Nwangwu off of waivers day before yesterday from the Vikings, and he's this great returner. He can't run the football worth a damn because he can't find a hole. That's a bad thing. But he's going to be this great returner for the Saints, and then he fails his physical. He's not even on the team for 24 hours, so I guess it wasn't that great of a signing.
Maybe that's why the Vikings let him go. Maybe.
But the Saints, the Saints, they got Spencer Rattler in the 5th round. They are smarter than a 5th grader. All right, let's move on. I'm not going to put you on the spot. All right.
You put me on the spot enough with Spencer Rattler. Yeah, it's not like it's any different.
I know. People hate me because whenever I bring up Spencer Rattler, it's the opposite of Jameis Winston. They hate me because I thought Jameis Winston got a bad break here. They hate me because I think Spencer Rattler is what he is, a 5th round pick who'll be a 5th round pick.
Well, I've said it many times on the show already, as we've talked about him basically every week, that us at The Athletic, we had him as a 2nd round graded quarterback. So I liked the value. So the talent, at least in our eyes, at The Athletic, we feel it's there.
There you go. You showered love on Larry Holder. He and The Athletic, they like Spencer Rattler. I think Spencer Rattler is probably a fine human being. I just don't think he'll ever be a starting quarterback in the NFL.
I guess we probably put him on the same plane as like Kyle Trask.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe he will prove me wrong, and I will gladly run this clip back and make an ass out of myself, like I'm probably about to do right here, because the way we start our division previews is I show you what I picked last year and at the same time show you what really happened. So it's kind of a mixed bag with the NFC North. And so my friends who like the Detroit Lions will give me a lot of grief, and maybe at the end of this segment, they'll give me grief again because I don't know what my picks are going to be. I'm not going to tell you. But here we go. I picked the Green Bay. Now, there's good and bad in this, right? I picked the Packers to win the division. I was almost spot on with the Packers. I picked them to go 10-7. They went 9-8. I picked the Bears to go 6-11, finished last. They were 7-10. The Vikings had injuries, so that's kind of a whatever. But I really whiffed on the Lions. I was way wrong. I know people were high on them last year. I just didn't see it. I thought they were going to go 8-9. They won the division. And really, in the grand scheme of things, they might have been the best team in the NFC when it all. Even though they didn't win that championship game, if they had a coach that was a little bit better than Dan Campbell, I'm not going to go into all that right now, but they might have been the best team in the NFC last year.
So I guess you weren't buying the hype preseason on the Lions last year.
I wasn't. We'll see if I'm buying it this year. You know what? We only got you for another 25 minutes, so let's get into it, my friend. I'm not going to even waste any more time on it. We're going to start off. The way we do this is we go team by team. We give you a little bit of a preview, 5, 7, somewhere around there minutes, and then we give you our predictions at the end. We go alphabetical order by city name, which means the first are the Monsters of the Midway, the Chicago Bears. Finished 7-10 last year, but there's a lot of hope in the Windy City. Larry Holden, I ain't talking about me and Gus's Chicago Cubs. I'm talking about them Bears, the Bears. You look at these numbers last year, but they got Caleb Williams. They got a really good receiving core, and everything is right in Chicago, right?
Maybe offensively, maybe. And look, I will say actually one of the more underrated acquisitions this offseason, especially with Chicago, is actually DeAndre Swift. I mean, he was excellent with the Eagles last year. And he just didn't score a ton of touchdowns because you get down to the one and they're tush pushing their way into the end zone every time. So it kind of vultured any fantasy value for Swift. But he was a huge part of when they were good, he was a huge part of their success. So I think offensively that they could be the real deal. Now, it obviously all comes down to Caleb Williams. Can he immediately step to the forefront and be that guy. It's the most hopeful. When's the last time the Bears were this hopeful about
1985?
What, Jim McMahon?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Cade McNown, maybe. How about that guy? Sexy Rexy.
Sexy Rexy brought him to the Super Bowl.
That's
He
a
beat the
painful
Saints.
one. Beat the Saints.
Yeah, in 2006. Yeah, I heard some oohs and ahs back there. Ouch.
Yeah, that's a familiar voice. I'll just keep his identity at a distance right now.
Okay. Is there too much hype on this team though? Look, I get where that they improved. PFF has their wide receiving core is 4th best in the NFL. I think that's a little high. And I get the love for Caleb Williams, but really, I mean, you're talking about a rookie. We don't know how he's going to transform into the NFL. There was a lot of hype over Justin Fields, and they shipped him off to Pittsburgh. So, I mean, is there too much? I mean, an over-under win total of 9.5 seems kind of high for me for a team that's been perennially awful and was 7-10 last year.
Look, I think if Justin Fields was actually healthy the whole year, they probably would have been better than 7-10. So I actually think that the hype is legit for the Bears. There's the unknown with Caleb Williams. I get it. But also Caleb Williams has come to the Bears with a different kind of set of circumstances as Justin Fields. Like Justin Fields was the 4th quarterback taken in that draft class. This was they could have had their pick. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, you name it. And they went with the guy who everyone thought they would go with. And so, look, do I think he could be a very good quarterback in the NFL? I think absolutely. Is he set up for success offensively, skill position-wise? Absolutely. I like where he's got at running back. I like all 3 of his wide receivers. And I like the tight end, Cole Kmet. So he is set up to be successful. We haven't gotten to the other side of the football where there's some pluses and minuses there. But you add it up, I think, say that over-under win total, I think that's a fair total. And I buy into the hype. I don't think they win a division, but I buy into the hype that they could be a playoff team.
Remember last year when the Carolina Panthers had their pick of what quarterback they wanted, and the Houston Texans said thank you? Remember that?
I do remember that. I'm sure Carolina Panthers fans remember that. I'm sure CJ Stroud is thankful that they passed on him.
There's someone in the green room right now who's very thankful. I'm just going to say that. All right. Bears last year, 27th in passing, but 2nd in rushing. They were also best in the league against the run, which bodes well for them. We'll see how that goes into this year because they don't really have that good of a defensive line, Larry. And you talked about their defense, and that really worries me a little bit if you're a Bears fan.
They really lack a pass rush. There's a reason why they were in the contest to go get Matthew Judon, and they lost because they have Montez Sweat,
right?
And that's it. I mean, they're as I brought up kind of each week. Like I did a big study on teams' pass rushers throughout the offseason, and the Bears are rough. Like they're really rough. It's like they're expecting Sweat to do everything, and like he can't. Like, what do you expect out of the guy? So, like I said, there's a reason why they went after Judon. That is going to be kind of their Achilles heel because their secondary is one of the best ones in the NFL, specifically at corner. Like they're only getting better, and they added Kevin Byard, veteran guy. Like they are in win now mode and secondary, especially at corner, and their corners are young and one of the best groups in the NFL. Well,
and we know Matt Eberflus needs to win now or he's going to be gone. I'm surprised he wasn't going already. Brian Cavett says Bears under, but not by much. 9 wins, 1-4 to start. Well, let's talk about their schedule a little bit. I don't know that I see 1-4. They got the Titans at home, at the Texans, at the Colts. Then they have 2 in a row at home against the Rams and Panthers before they play in Europe against the Jaguars. And then here's an interesting part of their schedule. After they have their bye week at Commanders, and I'm reading this out, by the way, people who are watching this wondering why I'm reading it out. You might be listening to the podcast and you don't know what their schedule is. So after the bye week, at Commanders, at Cardinals, and they're home for 3 in a row, Patriots, Packers, Vikings. But they're on their road for 3 in a row against Lions, 49ers, Vikings, then they're home Lions, Seahawks, and at Packers. I don't know. I mean, to me, this schedule is kind of a mixed bag, but I don't know that this is one that screams we're going to win 9 or 10 games.
Well, I think those games initially in the schedule are more of a toss-up than maybe people probably give them credit for.
Maybe so.
Because, like, the Texans they're not going to win every game. Like, They can be beaten. The Colts can certainly be beaten. They're certainly
sure.
The Colts with their quarterback play, that's as unproven as the Bears.
Yeah,
And look, the Rams, while they could be fine, they're in that probably 9-win area.
Yeah, they're in a similar boat as the Bears.
Right. So if they do well early and maybe catch some momentum, maybe they can beat a Packers team in mid-November. Or like the Vikings, I think we would agree, as our predictions would probably show, that they'll be at the bottom of the division. So, I mean, they got to do well early to really kind of ride momentum.
You don't remember your picks.
I don't. No.
So, I mean, you gave me these picks like a month ago.
Like
you might have picked the Vikings.
Yeah.
You might have picked the Vikings to win a division. If I told you that, you.
In Sam Darnold, I trust.
Sav, thank you very much. A better way to celebrate your birthday than listening to Dattitude, and it's a day after mine. So there you go. Happy birthday to you, Sav. Thank you.
Jim's what, 72?
71.
Nice.
71. Rocky's here. He's a little late. We appreciate you coming in. All right, let's move on to the team that is the bee's knees. I was wrong about him last year, and I'll probably be wrong about him again. No spoiler alerts. The Detroit Lions and Coach Dan Campbell finished 12-5, lost in the NFC title game because he's kind of a dummy. I don't know. I mean, they should have won that game. And again, if you ask me, Larry Holder, at the end of last year, the Detroit Lions were the best team in the NFC.
I think before they decided to go for it on downs and give the 49ers some momentum, they were winning that game. It was a similar feeling, I'd say, a couple of years ago when the Eagles looked like they were going to beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. It was a similar feeling.
Meltdown.
A bit of a the other team had to come back.
Was it a 17-point lead?
Yeah, the other team had to come back, but
they were killing Brock Purdy.
And then all of a sudden, the tide turns and Purdy becomes magical, and Brandon Ayuk, the freshly signed Brandon Ayuk, makes that wild catch, and all the momentum changes. And so, look, that's the thing. I think that this football team is certainly good enough to be a Super Bowl contender. And they're probably only going to be better, in my opinion. So it's I don't know where you are, but I'm a believer in the Lions. I mean, it's hard not to be, but I'm
Davy Jones. Call him Davy Jones, everybody. He's a believer. He might even have the hoot out.
How many people actually know that reference?
About maybe a quarter, a fifth at the most. Know what that.
I remember the cartoon of the monkeys. Dude, does anyone else remember that?
I do. I remember watching Brady Bunch, and Davy Jones. It was a big deal that he was on Brady Bunch. Anyway, we're getting way off the rails. All right, look. Here's the deal. They're the best offensive line in football, or one of the 1 or 2 or 3 best. Okay, there's no question about that. Tell me why I'm wrong that I just think Jared Goff still isn't very good. I know he was good last year.
Wrong.
Convince me. Tell me I'm wrong. Go ahead. Tell me I'm wrong. I know you will.
Well, I'm not going to spout off all the advanced metrics that I could to prove why you
could do that later in the season.
EPA and all of that, and he's been an EPA machine since midway through the 2022 season. Which, you know who else is an EPA machine? And same old
Rattler?
No, he hasn't played enough games. Brock Purdy is an EPA machine, and what do you know? They face off in the NFC Championship game. So obviously, I buy both of those quarterbacks. I just think he's got the right system. It works. Like, look, he was excellent the year the Rams went to the Super Bowl in 2018. But look, the pieces have got to be there for both of those guys to be that way, and obviously the pieces are there for Goff. Look, double running backs, stud tight end. You've got an excellent receiver and one who could be budding with Jameson Williams. So look, all the offensive line, all the pieces are there. So it helps that you have that. But I do think Goff, this fits him like a glove. It really does.
Well, I mean, you look at their numbers. They were second in passing last year, 5th in rushing, 3rd in overall in total offense. And I guess really, whether you like the Lions or don't, there's no reason to think why those numbers won't be pretty close to the same thing this year.
I'm with you. Like, there's a reason why I say, like, it's hard for me to say, oh no, they're not gonna keep up that momentum. And I see it coming, and it just, to me, it seems like it's inevitable that they're in the hunt. 12 wins, 13 wins. I think that's a very realistic expectation.
Wait till you see your prediction, my friend. I know you don't remember it, but
I think I had a huge prediction. Their
defense. Okay, this is what worries me though. Besides Dan Campbell, because he's my number one concern. I think Dan Campbell is. I predicted at the end of last year that by the end of the 2026 season, Dan Campbell would be out of a job, and I'm going to stand by it because I think he's going to screw this team up some kind of way. We'll get to my prediction in a minute, but another glaring thing is you see that 27 against the pass. Well, what does this division do? They like to pass the football. I mean, especially with Caleb Williams coming in, and you got to go against Jordan Love, and I'm not that worried about Sam Darnold, I guess, but they have a top-notch receiving core. That 27 against the pass, if that doesn't get better, that's going to keep them from doing anything special, I think.
Well, they actually went out and addressed this.
They did, and
sure.
they have a good defensive line.
Yes, they've gotten better. I think if you're looking at depth charts out there and you see Marcus Davenport, ignore that part because that's a total gamble. I mean, who knows what they got with him. DJ Reader is the real deal. Like, you get him up front at nose tackle. He is a 3-down guy. That is a big loss.
Wayne Hutchinson also is one of the best defensive ends.
I'm leaving him out for last because he's certainly a Pro Bowl, All-Pro type of player. But look, you look at cornerback. They went out. Carlton Davis is there. He's an upgrade. They drafted Tyrion Arnold. He's an upgrade. Amik Robertson, I think, is an underrated player. You have him at nickel. Like, I think they've improved all over the place. They addressed that need with the secondary. So, look, I think they got better up front and they got better in the secondary. So I think they saw that number and squarely thought, look, we've got to address this. And I think they did.
That makes a lot of sense. And look, I can't disagree with anything you said. Maybe it's the hater in me. I don't know what it is. But, again, I'm just not sold on Dan Campbell. I'm really not. And we'll get to that in my predictions part of it. But I do want to talk about their schedule briefly. Look, these numbers, I mean, Super Bowl at plus 1,200. If you like the Lions as much as Larry says, I'm not saying it's a value, but if you like them as much as Larry does and you think that they're one of the best teams in the NFC, then that's really kind of a bargain. I wouldn't mess with the over under win total of 11. Their division chances at plus 130. Maybe that's a value as well. Their schedule, we look at it, Larry, and they've got a bunch of non-Sunday traditional games. They got prime time. They start off on Sunday Night Football against the Los Angeles Rams at home. They got 2 games in a row at home. They play the Bucs at Cardinals. So 3 out of their first games, they got an early bye week, which I hate. But 3, they don't really, except for the Cardinals, they don't really go on the road until they play Dallas on October 13th. So I like the way this starts for the Lions, but then it gets tough. And they have 3 in a row at home, but they also have 2 road games, November 3rd and 10th against the Packers and Texans. They go to the Colts on the 24th, and then that stretch at the end, it gets tough. November 28th, Bears, Packers, Bills all at home, but then they go to the Bears, go to the 49ers. Man, that's an interesting schedule there, Larry.
This is one of the teams, though, that I would say I don't really care what the schedule is.
Yeah, I hear you.
Like, I think you could say, I don't care where it is, when it is, where that's played.
They're the ones to be beat.
Right. They're the ones that are saying, oh, no, we got to play the Lions. And how odd to say is that, but that's what they've become. And so, yeah, I think that's that December 30th game, that could be a home field advantage type of game at the 49ers that I know everyone around that time will be watching. And I'm not going to say it's an MVP race type of thing, but if the Lions are number 1 seed caliber and Goff is playing well and Purdy, it's the same thing. And say if the AFC kind of falters because you've got the bigger names over there,
right?
It could be something like that. Like we saw last year, similar to like Lamar Jackson versus Brock Purdy. Ravens did well. Purdy fell off. Lamar won it. I'm not saying Goff is in, but he could actually be in that conversation if they do as well as maybe I anticipate.
We weren't singing that song about the Lions when we were watching the Monkeys cartoon back in the day. That's for sure. Back in the day. All right, moving on. Green Bay Packers. A lot of people, a lot of hype on this Packers team. A lot of people think they can challenge for the division. this year. And if you talk about Jordan Love and the step that he's taken, you get Josh Jacobs to help you in the running in the backfield. Although you've lost A.J. Dillon now to a neck injury, he's out for the season. And the receiving core is also young and upcoming, but they've also, all of those guys, all of those receivers, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, they've all had trouble staying healthy. What do you think about this Packers team?
Add me to the hype train just because of the way I followed Jordan Love throughout the entire season, week to week to week, all year last year. And, man, he shot off like a rocket.
Yes, he did.
The mid portion of the season, and I see no reason to believe that he would fall off that trajectory. I think the fact that they have 4 receivers, you don't call any of them a number one, I kind of think that's a bit of an advantage because you don't know where he's going to go with the football because you can lean on all those guys.
Right.
On a Watson, on a Dobbs. And I like Jaden Reed the best, but still, you can.
I was going to say Jaden Reed's the one I think to watch out for. And a lot of people talking about Dontavian Wicks as the one to watch out for.
Look, he's certainly one that could maybe elevate a little higher than a Dobbs. And we've seen, like you said, Watson's pretty injury prone. But here, if you're a fantasy guy, and so many people are, the fact that A.J. Dillon is not around anymore, and if you haven't gone into a draft yet, Josh Jacobs has to look really good to me because he has to be that bell cow guy.
What about Marshawn Lloyd as a backup? I mean, we don't know a whole lot about him. He's a young guy, a small guy, and he's a little banged up too. But what do we know about him?
Honestly, I don't know much. I'll be frank because you're going into the season, you assume that Jacobs.
But Josh Jacobs is going to be the best. Josh Jacobs is going to get 220 carries.
Easy.
If he stays healthy,
he might get more.
No, I agree. I think Josh Jacobs could be like that guy that maybe isn't in the first round but should be. If you're in like a 12-team league and you're drafting at the bottom and you got back-to-back picks or something like that, I don't think you can go wrong there. As far as fantasy advice goes,
I like both of their tight ends too. I like Musgrave and I like Kraft.
So do I.
They're both young players, and you could mix and match those guys. So a lot of diversity on that offense. And look, I think their offensive line is solid. So I think they can. There's reason for optimism there.
Offensive line ranking of 14 at PFF. You look at these numbers: 12th in passing last year, 15th in rushing, a total of 11th. I think that goes up because I think Jordan Love now. Last year was the first year where I think he gets in there and gets a chance. He comes back against the Saints in week 3 and things started to get better. And towards the end, he just looked like he had that and I think that this is the first year that he plays like I'm going out there, I'm the man. And I think he's got a chance to be something special.
Oh, I agree. It's the 49ers were lucky to get past them. Like the 49ers were lucky to get past Green Bay. And then they were even luckier to get past Detroit. So like, this division, strong. There's no question in my mind.
Brian says he thinks the division similar to the NFC South. A 9 or 10 win season will win the division. I don't think so.
No way.
I don't think so. Real quick, their defense, they were 9th against the pass last year. 28th, though, against the run. That's tough when you're facing teams like, the Bears because Caleb Williams can run and they got DeAndre Swift. And you talk about the Lions and their running game, you got to be better than 28th against the run to be able to win this division.
Yeah, that side of the football is more of the concern. You look at it's their passing numbers.
Yeah,
I'm kind of surprised they were that well because who did not play well last year is Jair Alexander. He did not have a good year.
He did not. You're right.
And but here's what they did: they went out and got Xavier McKinney. Like he was one of the better free agent acquisitions across the league. So that's a big pickup. I love Rashawn Gary. I don't feel like he's ever gotten enough credit.
He never does.
I love him as a player. One of the best pressure players in the league for years.
I agree.
And now I think he's fully fresh after being injured. And so look, I like Kenny Clark. I like Quay Walker.
Kenny Clark got anything left in the tank?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think he does. But I think I mentioned Alexander. He's got to have a better year. And can Eric Stokes be the guy he was a couple of years ago? Missed basically all of last year. So that to me is the more concern. But man, if you got enough firepower on offense and your defense is fine, you're going to be in it to win it in the NFC.
Well, I will tell you this: the Sharps actually, you can tell that they really believe in the Packers, because that Super Bowl number, you would think that's definitely not a value. Plus 1,800. They really like the Packers. Plus 230 to win the division. Their over/under win total is at 10. So that's kind of a surprise. Won 9 games last year. Sharps think they'll be better this year. You look at their schedule real quick. The good news is they don't have any stretch where they only have one stretch all year where they have to go on the road for back-to-back games, and it's not until December. They don't play a whole lot of primetime games until right after Thanksgiving. They start out at Eagles, Colts, at Titans, Vikings, at Rams, Cardinals. That's a very navigatable schedule. Eagles the toughest one there for sure. Towards the end, it gets a little bit tough. At Lions, at Seahawks. They play the Saints on a Monday night, at the Vikings, and they finish with the Bears. I think this is the easiest schedule in the division, and that's kind of why I do like the Packers a little bit more than some others do.
Yeah, I think the stretch, let's see, November 24th through the 5th, you got 49ers, Dolphins, at Lions. I think that could be. And then
That's an interesting one.
And then you got to go all the way to Seattle. Who knows what Seattle's going to be, but that trip is always, even if it's going from Green Bay to Seattle, that's still an odd trip whenever you've got to make that. But yeah, I agree. Like, you look at it and you think, man, okay, even to start the season at Eagles, they could go up there and beat them. And so again, I'm not saying that they're Lions-esque. You say they have a shot in every single game, but they do. Like, I really think that they do.
4 straight primetime games, November 28th through December 23rd. Dolphins at Lions at Seahawks, and then the vaunted New Orleans Saints. We'll see how that goes. We wrap up the division. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time. I don't think either one of us thinks the Minnesota Vikings is going to be any good. They had their issues that they lost J.J. McCarthy, who may or may not was going to start their rookie quarterback, but now he's out for the season. They've got to go with Sam Darnold. They were 5th in passing last year, but that was because of Kirk Cousins. I know their wide receiving core is outstanding, and Jordan Jefferson. Did I just say Jordan Jefferson? Sorry, Justin Jefferson.
Did. Jordan Jefferson on all the shoes.
Yeah, the quarterback, the LSU quarterback. Justin Jefferson is the best receiver in football, but still, Larry, this team, I just don't trust Sam Darnold, and I don't think they can run the football. I'm not even talking about their defense, which may be okay, I guess, but I don't know. I just don't think – I think this team's got to – their over-under is 7, and I don't think they're going to get there.
Look, I think Sam Darnold might not be terrible. Like, I think –
And I love Kevin O'Connell.
Yes, that's part of why I do like him as a coach. I really do. And so you have Justin Jefferson. Like, I think Sam Darnold might be okay. I mean, look, everyone loves Justin Jefferson in fantasy. Well, who's going to get him the football?
Yeah,
somebody's got to.
Right.
So you look at that, and then Addison's got off the field problems. He's banged up. He's been a bit of a mess. And then I find it interesting that Aaron Jones goes from Green Bay to Minnesota.
Right.
And he's been a little bit banged up. But yeah, when I look defensively, though, they did get younger at pass rusher. They basically traded with the Texans instead of Daniil Hunter. Now they have Jonathan Grenard. I like Van Ginkel as a pass rusher. They signed Stephon Gilmore late because they knew they had to address kind of their cornerback needs. But I'm with you that you look at kind of the rest of the division and how they're stacked up. I mean, there's a reason why there's over-under win totals at 7, and everybody knows Darnold is the bridge quarterback. Even Darnold knew when he signed there he's a bridge quarterback,
right,
to whoever they were going to draft.
And look, let's just say this. It's kind of like the Saints schedule in a way, because it's absolutely brutal. If they don't win at the Giants in week 1, they may not win until November. I mean, that's how bad it is. I mean, at Giants, and again, for those people listening to the pod and can't see the schedule on the left side of the screen, after the Giants, they host the 49ers and Texans. Then they go to the Packers. They play an international game against the Jets before their bye week. Then they host the Lions, go to the Rams, host the Colts. I mean, I don't even need to read any more than that, Larry. I mean, that screams like 1-6 to me.
I'm even looking at that at Jaguars.
Yeah, I mean, then they play 3 in a row on the road. That's at Jaguars, at Titans, at Bears. I mean, which, isn't a gauntlet or anything, but I mean, I don't see how this team gets to 7 wins, and I don't even remember how many wins I predicted. We'll get to it in a second.
Obviously, I don't remember.
I know you don't, but we're going to
get
to that in a second.
7 wins might be a little. That might be a little high for the Vikings. That might be a little high.
We've reached the 11:40 point, so we're going to get to our NFC North predictions. I am always watching the clock and watching out for my friend Larry
You're
Holder.
always watching the clock. Yeah, right.
You believe that? Here we go. It's prediction time, everybody. What do we think? And I'm dissing the Lions again.
Yes, I picked the under. Yes.
You got the Lions at 15-2. I got them finishing second at 10-7. I just really like this Green Bay team. And I know, and again, I may be putting egg on my face again, Larry, but I just don't trust Dan Campbell. I don't trust Jared Goff. And I'm not saying Jared Goff's not a good quarterback. I just don't think he's a great quarterback. And look, I know they have all these weapons and their defense is good, but I just think Dan Campbell's going to do stupid things and get himself in trouble.
Well, they might be good enough to not put themselves in stupid positions. Like that might actually be.
I don't know, man.
That might actually be it. Now, I'm going to make a disclaimer because I have not given you my Super Bowl predictions or any of the playoff
You have not?
stuff. So maybe I surprise you in where I go with this, but I do like the Lions, obviously. A heck of a lot.
You love the Lions. And by the way, for those who can't see our predictions, you're listening on the pod. Larry thinks he's got the Lions at number 1 going 15-2.
Yes.
Larry and I both have the Packers with the same record of 12-5. The only difference is I have them winning the division. Larry has them second. I have the Lions at 10-7. We both have the Bears at 9-8. And we both have the Vikings at 6-11. And I think that might be a little bit high. But so look, we'll get to our next Friday. We're going to get to our postseason predictions, but I think the NFC North is a fun division. If anything else, I certainly don't agree that 9 or 10 wins going to win it. I think it might be. I don't know if it's going to be 15 like you have, but 12 might not be enough because it might take 13 wins to win this division.
All right, it might be 14. Hey, whatever. It might be 16. Who knows? But obviously, I love the Lions, at least in the regular season.
All right. Well, you give my friend Gus Cattingill a little kiss on the cheek for me. Tell him I said hello.
I've already creepily touched his hand as he was setting up the radio equipment here. So per normal, so there's no question. There's more creepiness to come by the time this show logs off for the last time. So, but looking forward to it. And great run for an incredible. Incredible time I had when I did daily radio. It was really one of the funnest things I've ever done.
As soon as we're done with Dattitude, and we're going to make sure we're finished so we can go listen to the final sports hangover ever, a 14-year run. Congratulations to Gus Cattingill and the sports hangover, and go enjoy yourself, Larry. We'll see you on Wednesday.
All right, we'll catch y'all then.
That's Larry Holder, and he's going to go do the sports hangover. Oh, I mean, look, I love doing this segment, and I love having Larry on Fridays. And we've known each other for a long time, and I love having a guy on that can take my razzing a little bit and then dish it back at me sometime. This show's about fun, and we're trying to have a lot of fun here. So if you're on again, if you want to comment on anything, I had a couple earlier. I appreciate the comments and the well wishes. You want to comment? We're going to talk a little bit about college football. We're not doing a whole lot of Saints today. Look, we've done all Saints for the last couple months, and we're going to look next week. We're going to be diving in. It's the regular season opener. Obviously, there's nothing going on this weekend with the Saints, and really, besides the signing and then unsigning of Wangwu, there's really not a whole lot to talk about today about the Saints. So we will be back in full Saints bore next week. I don't mean boring like bull. We're going to drill. We're going to drill the Saints into your brains. We're also going to talk about LSU and Tulane. Tulane's got a really big one next week. We'll certainly talk about that. Tulane hosting Kansas State, a big one, because if the Green Wave, I told you before the season started, I said it on Fox 8 on the Final Bet. I've said it on this show a couple times. I think Tulane could be the surprise, the non-Power 4 school that makes it to the playoffs, because their schedule, other than Kansas State, I think they got to play Oklahoma, which is, I know they're SEC, but it's going to be a down year for Oklahoma. Tulane almost beat them a few years ago, and they did beat Kansas State 2 years ago at Kansas State. I think they're a value. 10-1 was the last I saw. Brian, you're asking if they took Gus off the air. Gus has taken himself off the air. He is he's got a promotion. He's all Pelicans now. He already did like their pregame show, halftime show. He's just doing, I don't know exactly what his title is. You can go look it up. But he's doing more with the Pelicans. And so he is devoting his time, and he just doesn't have time to do both anymore. And so Gus is going to do the Sports Hangover full time. Okay, I'm about to bring in Gabe Henderson, but I want to talk real quick about Tulane. And I'll tell you, they were super impressed. I don't know if you watched that game. And my prediction yesterday was that they wouldn't cover the 27.5 spread, and I thought it would go under. Well, it was 1-1. Look, Tulane's defense played okay. I mean, Southeastern did some things. They also shot themselves in the foot. But Darian Mensah was outstanding. I mean, he was incredible. Look, he really was. 10 of 12 for 205 yards and 2 touchdowns. And again, a lot of you are saying, well, it's Southeastern. What's the big deal? It's not just who they're playing. It's how the team looks. And I thought they were playing. My friend Lil 60, where's he at? Where is it? There we go. There's a Tulane fan for you. Go roll wave. Look, he was good. They didn't. We're talking about the 3-headed monster quarterback. They didn't need to go to Ty Thompson or Kai Horton. It didn't matter because Mensah was that good. Now, the other two got a chance to get in, but by the time they got in, this game was over. Tulane gets a pick 6, 52-0. How about combined 18 carries for 107 yards, Mekhi Hughes and Shotty Clayton? Shotty Clayton looked like he was back at Warren Easton. They were good. So congrats to the Tulane Green Wave. We will be talking more about them next week for sure. But we're going to get into LSU in just a minute. We're going to bring in Gabe. We're going to talk about LSU, and we're going to talk about some of these games to watch on the left-hand side of your screen. Some of these lines have changed a little bit, especially Clemson and Georgia. That line keeps dropping. It was 13.5 yesterday. Now it's 12. Everybody betting on them Tigers. What about the LSU Tigers? We'll tell you about it in a minute. Before we get to all of that, let me tell you a bit more about how Evangeline Securities can help you figure out what your family or privately owned business might be worth and whether it's time to sell. How do they do it? Well, after their complimentary valuation we told you about earlier of your company, if you decide to proceed, our native New Orleanian experts, Nick Braden, Ron Hemelt, and the folks at Evangeline will begin an extensive auction process from established private equity funds from around the world. They will maximize the return process for the founder and his or her family. Just like Tulane did last night, they can help you roll to victory. They do 52-0 every day at Evangeline. Let Nick and Ron help you out. Help you go out on top. Evangeline Securities is the top producer on their platform. There are very few companies like them in this area, none with their dedication and success. They're fully licensed, ready to serve you. So get in touch with Evangeline Securities about what is really important. You know what it is. Say it with me. The rest of your life. You can find them at www.evangelinesecurities.com. Program a note, like we told you before. No show on Monday. Wednesday, we'll be doing the NFC South preview. Probably doing a little Talking Saints, of course. Thursday, we'll have our first real pick show. Tom Casale will be on again. Gabe Henderson will give us his pick of the week. And Uncle Big Nick will be on for the first time in quite a while. And then we'll be previewing. Also, our picks will be NFL Week 1, College Football Week 2. And then Friday, we'll be talking about Larry will be back again, NFL postseason picks, Super Bowl picks, preview of Saints-Panthers, and also the best NFL games of Week 1. Lots of things to talk about. Brian was impressed with Tulane. So was I. I know Gabe didn't watch a whole lot of Tulane. So that is the Tulane portion of the show. And I had the wrong thing down there. I was supposed to have this one up there. Larry obviously wasn't with me to talk about all that, but it didn't matter. It's all good. I'm going to Gabe now anyway. How about that? Happy pre-birthday. We've got the candles all lit up. My godchild's birthday is also tomorrow. She's a little bit younger than you, but you turn 21 tomorrow, huh?
I wish. Thank you, though. It's I'm excited to be able to celebrate with Week 1 of college football.
It is exciting for sure. Real football, and look, Week 0 is okay. It's kind of a tease. It's a taste. But, last night was kind of cool, I thought, with all the games that were on. And I don't use the ESPN app a whole lot, but I definitely did last night. I was kind of flipping around last night, and I watched most of the Tulane game. But, before we get to what's this weekend, that Colorado game I thought was also pretty fun.
Yeah, and, Brian in the comments asked about Colorado. Anyone hyping up Colorado after that performance last night obviously didn't watch. The only real positive for Colorado last night was Travis Hunter. Other than that, I
think Brian, by the way, is saying they don't look that good. So he's
no. I agree. But he was asking, are they hyping up Prime? Anyone who really hypes up Colorado after that performance, this is exactly what we expected out of them. I saw what I needed to see. They were a 4-8 team last year. I don't think they'll improve all that much in the Big 12. They've got a tough schedule. It'll be a struggle as to whether or not they make a bowl game this year. That defense just doesn't look great.
Doesn't look good at all.
Yeah, they really struggle with the offensive line still, and those are fixable things. But the secondary was the one glaring issue for me.
Yeah,
and the Big 12, some of those teams will throw all over them.
Yeah, Brian, by the way, says happy birthday.
Thank you.
So it's birthday week here at Dattitude for sure. All right, before we get to pick your brain on a couple games, we got about 5 minutes left. LSU-USC, this line has moved just a tinge. The number stayed at 4. It's 4.5 at some places, but the money line has moved towards USC just a little bit. It was 185 and 154 yesterday. Today, the money line is minus 180 for LSU, plus 150 for USC. And if you kind of new to the show or you don't know anything about betting, what that basically means is if you want to bet on LSU to win without a point spread, you got to bet $180 to win 100. And if you want to bet on USC, you bet $100 to win 150. What do you think about this game, this contest?
I think it's going to be really evenly matched. These teams are very similar in every sense. They're both replacing key coordinators.
Yep.
LSU replacing their offensive coordinator as well, and Mike Denbrock, which I don't think is as big a loss as some make it seem. They're both replacing Heisman Trophy quarterbacks, and they've got some stars outside. A lot of skill position talent with these two teams, and I think it's going to be really testy early on, as Thomas Casale said yesterday.
I like testy for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to be that. And then in the end, as I said before, I think LSU's offensive line is the strongest unit on the field. And I think Caleb Jackson is really, really going to emerge this week. Everyone's been hyping him up all offseason. I thought he was really good when he got his limited opportunities last season. I think he's going to emerge as the starting back in a strong LSU backfield.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that at all. I think that defense is going to be a lot better and certainly better than the 108th. But I also think USC is going to be better than the 119th. You talk about the change of coordinators, and I think that makes a big difference. And already, look, and this isn't just hype. I think the word out of LSU camp is that their defense is, the offense is ahead of the defense still, and we know that offense is not going to be the first. You see the numbers on the screen. They're the best in the nation last year. USC's offense was 10th in the nation last year. So we know that LSU's offense is not going to be the best in the nation. Be high. Very surprising if they are, if they're even in the top 10, in my opinion. But the fact that the offense and defense seem to be fairly close tells me that this LSU team has a chance to be one of the top 12 in the country.
Yeah, I think they're going to be on that fringe all season.
Yeah,
it really comes down to this game and the Ole Miss game. I think those are the two biggest games on their schedule. Obviously, you look at Alabama and A&M as well as other swing games, but this game and the Ole Miss game are the really, really the big ones to look at for me. I don't think they can lose 3 games and get in, but I don't a lot of teams with the 12-team playoff. A lot of people are saying, early on these games don't matter as much. I think this game absolutely matters for LSU,
I agree.
And I think this could make or break their season early.
I think they need to start 5-0. And if you look at their schedule, to me, this is by far the toughest one of the 5. They need to be 5-0 going to that Ole Miss game because Ole Miss is going to be 6-0 when they play LSU. So if you're talking about 5-0 LSU against 6-0 Ole Miss, LSU will have a chance to be, to me, have a chance to be in the top 5 if they can get into that game and then win that game. That would put them, to me, in the top 5. And then really, they have a little room to play with because their schedule, other than playing Alabama, and that's at home, both Ole Miss and Alabama are at home, I think gives LSU a leg up and a really good chance. I like their chances to get there, but they've got to win this game. It's a must-win game as far as their season goes. So I completely agree with what you said about this game. Absolutely matters. All right, the 4 games on the left-hand side of the screen. Again, if you're listening to the pod and you can't see it, I picked out my top 4 games to watch. Got Clemson at Georgia at 11 a.m. on Saturday is my number 1. My number 2 is Notre Dame at Texas A&M. That's Saturday at 6:30. Saturday at 2:30 is my number 3. Miami against the Gators of Florida, an in-state rivalry. And then my 4th best game to watch, also at 11 a.m., Penn State at West Virginia. The top 3 are on ABC. The Penn State game is on Fox. Which one of these 4 are you most interested in, Gabe?
That's tough. I think just purely for playoff implications, Georgia against Clemson. I think both of those are going to be playoff teams. A&M Notre Dame is really intriguing, though. I mean, I think if we're being honest, I think 3 of these games feature playoff teams, and I think Notre Dame A&M is the only one that doesn't, and that might be why the game intrigues me the most.
Yeah, I think that if Clemson gets the doors blown off of them, which they could, I'm not saying they will, I would actually give the 12. And I know this spread, and it's Clemson plus 12 at Georgia, but this spread has continued to go in Clemson's favor, a drop towards Clemson. I should say in Georgia's favor, you're betting. But it started out, it was like 14.5, 15, I think. And it's all the way down. Yesterday, when we did the show, it was 13.5. Now it's 12. So I think I might be jumping on the Bulldogs bandwagon. And you talk about Clemson potentially being a playoff team, and you talk about games that matter early, and not all of them do. But they can't get the doors blown off of them, to me, because if they do, they'd have to run the table if they lose bad to make a playoff.
Not necessarily. I think they're going to win the ACC. So that gets them in automatically.
Yeah, that would ought to be an automatic bid. You're right, but I don't know, man. I think there's going to be a surprise team in the ACC. It could be Miami.
I was going to say, I'll tell you, I think if there's a surprise team, I think you're looking at 2 of them on the screen right here. I think Miami and Clemson are going to play for the ACC title. And funnily enough, I think this is Miami's toughest game. I really worry about, Thomas Casale said yesterday, he really worries about that line. We've seen it move from 3 to 2.5 since yesterday.
I will say this.
I really think this is a tough test for Miami. And after that, Florida State is really the only tough test they have on their schedule. Their schedule is up there with Ole Miss. It's incredibly easy this year.
Billy Napier fighting for his job. He knows that, and so do the Gators. And if they want him to, he can't lose a game like this. So I think you will see the Gators come out with a lot of fight. If I had to pick it, and I don't, I would take the Gators and the points at home, because I think it's going to be a hard-fought game, and I actually think Florida's going to win the game. But it wouldn't surprise me at all if Miami comes out gangbusters this year, because I do think that they're a team that no one's talking about that could win the ACC for sure. And then I kind of like Notre Dame +3.
No, I like A&M in that game.
I know you and Tom both like A&M, but I like Notre Dame. I don't know why.
I think A&M's going to be scrappy good this year.
Yeah,
I just like Mike Elko. I'm a big Mike Elko guy.
Yeah, I hear
you. And then, one more note on
I've bought into A&M too much in the past couple of years.
That's fair. I haven't, but I am this year when everyone's down on them. The one game we haven't talked about on this list, I really like Penn State to lay the points on the road. They've been really good when they've been touchdown favorites under James Franklin, and I don't see West Virginia really sticking with them. I think this 12-team playoff is tailor-made for Penn State.
Yeah.
And I think they're good value to get in as well.
Well, I'm looking forward to us starting everything. The football season really begins for us next week. And Brian said, I agree. The best week 1 in college football in recent memory. I agree. I'm looking forward to it. Not just because of LSU, which is Sunday night, by the way, 6:30 on ABC. We start everything for real next week. Gabe, I'm looking forward to all those people still watching. If you're interested in our thoughts, and Tom Casale, if you missed him yesterday, go back and watch yesterday's show. Tom Casale's analysis on what college football week 1, I thought was outstanding. Not just saying that because he's a colleague here, bet.nola.com, all the things we do. But Tom Casale works for other outlets as well, and he's been doing this for a long time. And if you just listen to his analysis, you're going to have a leg up. And it's free here on Dattitude. Every Thursday, I pick him show, and then we'll have fun with Uncle Big Nick after. But you're going to come on Thursday as well, Give us your pick. Really looking forward to what we got going on. What about bet.nola.com? What do we have going on there?
Well, keep an eye out this weekend. Tom and I both make our picks for LSU-USC, give our best bets and score predictions for that game. So keep an eye out there. We've got a few of our freelancers writing previews for Miami, Florida, other games like that. Stanford, TCU coming up. But the one thing before I go, I heard you mention you liked the value on Tulane to be the group of 5 team to make the playoff. I've got 3 better values for you, and that's Liberty, Memphis, and Boise State. If one of those teams manages to string everything together this season, I think they're a lock. It's going to be one of those 3 out of the group of 5, in my opinion.
I just think that there's too much hype. I mean, all I've been hearing about is about Liberty and Memphis. That's everybody's saying that's got to be Liberty.
Keep an eye on Boise State. They lost right,
and coach. So if I were going to pick one,
State.
That would be the one. If you're not going to pick Tulane, to me, I would take Boise. But I'm telling you, if Tulane beats Kansas State, it's on.
Because I don't think they will. Kansas State is a Big 12 sleeper in my opinion.
Yeah, well, no one expected Tulane to win at Kansas State.
Kansas State has not had a quarterback this good, and it's probably since Colin Klein.
We'll see. I'm not willing to make that prediction yet, but we will talk about that next week. Anyway, back Wednesday. We'll have Wednesdays with Gabe, and then we'll make our pick on Thursday. We'll see you next week. Happy birthday, my friend.
Thank you.
That is going to just about wrap it up for us this morning. I thought it was a good show. Again, you can have fun doing a show that's not always all Saints. We appreciate you joining in. Again, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday next week, and then after that, it's every weekday except Tuesday. Every weekday except Tuesday at 11 a.m. right here on all these same channels. Again, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube page already, please do so. You have access to all of our shorts as well. And you can find me on TikTok. They can teach an old dog new tricks, apparently. At least for now. We'll see how it's going to go. All right, it's going to wrap it up for us on this Friday. I want to thank Larry Holder, of course, Gabe Henderson, the birthday boy. We will see you. We'll be back at it Wednesdays. We get rolling with our regular season talk. Click that little bell while you're subscribing to the YouTube page. You'll always get notified when we go on the air live. Again, every weekday, except Tuesday. You can also find us wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple, Spotify, and many more. You can find the replay of the show on NOLA.com/sports. You know that already. Everyone, have a wonderful Labor Day weekend. If you're going to the Ed Daniels Classic at Shaw tonight, I will be there. Come tell me hello. It should be a lot of fun as we pay tribute to one of the best ever to do it here in New Orleans. We will see you on Wednesday. Take it easy, my friends.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.